Hey everybody, today I'm back with another client testimony. This is the second one that I've done of these so far. The first one was super cool, so I thought I would just keep it going. My intention behind doing these is there's only so much that you can convey with just a simple before and after picture, right? Like, it's so cool to see how someone lost weight, but fitness journeys go so much deeper than that, and I would be remiss if I didn't find a way to really touch on all of the life-changing benefits that come with a physical transformation. So by doing these client interviews, these client testimonies, you can meet these real-life people, listen to their stories, relate to them, and then, maybe see if coaching is a good option for you as well. So the client that I'm interviewing today, her name is Nat. Now, a little bit of backstory. Nat and I started working together back in 2022. I think we worked together for about a year. We then stayed in touch, and we started working together again about 2 months ago now. In over 2 months now that I'm editing this. In the video, we talk about how we've been working together for about 8 weeks. We're probably like 10 weeks together now. She's about 8 to 10 pounds down. But before we started working together again, I think she's already lost over 50 pounds. I'm gonna put up her before and after pictures, her fat loss graph, for you to kind of see the progress that we've made so far. But I really want you to hear her journey from struggling with disordered eating to coming out of a not so great relationship to being someone that has always put others ahead of herself to now being someone who chooses herself. And without further ado, here's Nat's story. Who were you before we met? What initially brought you to Strong Girls Fitness Club Kennesaw all the way back in 2022?
So I would say before we met, before coaching, before Strong Girls Kennesaw, I was a very insecure person. Marina knows, but I have a decade of eating disorder behavior and history just like she did. So we connected on that very quickly. But I basically was not raised in an environment I was taught to love myself and given examples of how to encourage myself to be this bigger version of myself. I was consistently taught how to shrink myself and to pay attention to things that made me feel like I wasn't good enough and to compare and all these things. And it was not just society in my life. There were a lot of internal factors within my family and influences that really affected me creating this type of disordered mentality and physical response to not taking great care of myself. I have started thinking about the word eating disorder in comparison to self-mutilation because it's really
a form of self-harm.
It's really what you're doing. You're being tactical about how to take things away from your body. And so I've been thinking, that word has been in my head for the last couple weeks, and I was like, oh my god. For many years I was trying to shrink myself, starting from middle school to high school to college. There was always part of me, as a child, I had a natural light about me that really attracted people to me. And when I started doing these terrible things to myself, I was losing that light, but there was always part of it there, fighting, trying to crawl out the walls. And so there was always part of it that was able to mask that. And also, I was able to find love through other things. And there was always some form of love that I had with movement. So I was in cross country, and I did volleyball, and I loved those things, but I also, in that mindset, kind of used them as a way to over-exercise or exert myself more than I needed to when I wasn't eating enough. Going into college, I kind of knew something was wrong with me, and I kind of thought I was healed, but I definitely wasn't. I was like, oh, I know, so I'm better. But I got introduced into fitness, and let me preface this by saying that fitness before college was kind of a way to punish myself or a way to just shrink myself. And I just did all those random I grew up doing Taibo and shit like that, and doing the little videos, and I would do hundreds of crunches before going to bed, and like all these like really obsessive things that I like had to do. And then in college, I took my first cycling class in group fitness class, and I was like, ooh, this is cool. And I remember feeling empowered, but funny thing is that my first cycling class, I ended up like throwing up at the end because like I didn't have like the strength, and also I had barely eaten anything. I didn't have enough in my system, so I was like super lightheaded and like threw up. And it was like this weird comeback story. I was like, oh, I'm gonna come back better. It was so embarrassing. And then I ended up becoming an instructor. So like I like saw this thing, and I was like, I want to do something like this. I want to inspire people. I think I would help me to inspire people through fitness and stuff. So within a year or two, I was in this program to train me to become a group fitness instructor. I got certified through NASM, and it was this really cool journey of like, it was for the first time where I was like starting to love movement, but I wasn't necessarily done with my disordered behaviors, so it was kind of happening at the same time. And then a part of me got really hit when, well, for the first time I was starting to gain weight because I was in a loving relationship and I was outside of my household, so I wasn't being criticized, and I was kind of just like gaining natural good weight. And then the pandemic hit, and shortly before that, I was in a cycling class, and a patron came up to me and said something like really vulnerable to me. She pulled me aside at the end of the class, and she was like, how do you love yourself? She was like, I'm having a really hard time with loving myself, and I want to know, like, can you give me some advice on how to love yourself? And that like fucking shocked the hell out of me. I was not prepared, and I was able to like muster up some type of inspirational advice and like self-love shit. But in that moment, and between then and when the pandemic hit, I had really realized that I was feeling a little bit, what is the word, like I'm not portraying myself correctly, because I was like teaching body positivity and self-love.
Like a hypocrite.
Yeah, hypocrite.
I've been there.
I was feeling like a hypocrite. I was teaching self-love. I was teaching body positivity in these classes. People were looking up to me, and I was harming myself still. I still had bad thoughts. I used my job to over-exercise because I was a fitness instructor. So I was, teaching all these classes a week on top of my exercise, on top of having disordered eating. So that hit me. I was like, oh my God. And through that time, and once the pandemic hit and everything was shut down, we couldn't teach classes anymore. And I kind of made this internal vow within myself that I was like, I don't want to work in the fitness industry again until I am not a hypocrite, until I have healed from my eating disorder, until I have come out on the other side and can provide people real advice and the truth from my end. So that is kind of when, in the pandemic, when I started seeking out coaching. So I had a coach before you. I don't know if I ever told you that. I think twice before you was the same person. And so shortly before the pandemic hit, I was kind of being taught how to weightlift from my supervisors at KSU when I was teaching classes. And I was like, oh, this is kind of cool, like lifting weights and stuff. But I was so intimidated by the weight section at KSU. I was like, oh my God, all these college guys are like grunting, and I was like, ugh. But then with the pandemic, I hired a coach, and I was like, I told her I had eating disorder. I was like, and I definitely thought I was recovered by then. Whatever. I tracking calories and stuff like that freaked me the hell out for several years up until today. But she helped me, she helped encourage me and teach me like what like professional coaching was like, what it was like for someone to like kind of like be in your corner. And she gave me some basic knowledge about like nutrition and strength training, and I like had my own programming. I would go to my little apartment gym, do my thing and stuff. So I kind of like had these two moments where like I had her for a little bit, fell out, and then did it again for many years, from like 2020 to we don't know what the end date was. I was kind of like going back and forth between like having the energy of like choosing myself and fighting for myself, and kind of like giving up and like falling into the patterns and falling into like feeling like a victim from things that were happening to me in my life and not knowing how to balance it at all. So I kind of just had like varying things where I'd go from like personal training, then I would sign up for like the group fitness gyms and like do it through there because I was like, oh, it's easier, like I don't have to plan anything, I'll just go. But then when I went to those places, I realized I felt so exhausted because they were so extreme. I don't know if anyone's ever told you about stuff like that, but like I think I went to one where it was like cycling and lifting in the one class, and for me I felt like in that moment I was feeling more pain in my joints because I was like feeling so much pressure of like doing these really really hard like cardio sessions and then doing like weight, and then I was like, oh my god, like I just feel exhausted all the time. Turns out it was probably because I wasn't eating enough. I don't know, but I'm sure there was a mix of the two, but I just felt like it was a little too intense to do on my body. And then I kind of went back to the weightlifting and kind of back and forth. And then I think I saw Strong Girls Fitness Club on TikTok around in 2021. I was watching you for months before I ever reached out to you.
Good.
And yeah, I was watching you for months. I was like, all girls gym?
Who's this girl?
I was like, oh my god, they're like deadlifting and stuff. This is so cool. I was like, oh my god, there's no boys. This is amazing. And I was like, they look like they're friends. They look like they're having a good time. And I was watching for months. And then I think I found your Instagram. I don't know if I had found both. I'm sure I did because I'm like a stalker to the core, but in a respectful way. I like to gain all my information. So, and watch and feel comfortable and feel like I trust someone. So I saw Strong Girls Fitness Club and I was like, this is so cool. And it's in Kennesaw. I live in Kennesaw.
For those who don't know, during the pandemic, I started buying equipment, and I was living with my mom at the time. We had a big-ass basement that wasn't being occupied. So I just started putting all of the fitness equipment down there. I started working out down there. And then I slowly started getting clients, and we created Strong Girls Club Kennesaw. And that was one of my clients that would come, and we would do, like, small group training. So there was, like, it could either be one client at a time or 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of us at a time. Yeah. All working out and lifting weights. So that's what we're referring to.
Yeah. That's the birth of Strong Girls. And so I think eventually I like reached out to you. I want to say on Instagram. So I messaged you on Instagram and I was like, I'm kind of interested, but I'm kind of scared. And you were like, girl, just like come like one time. Like it'll be okay. It's okay if you don't know stuff. And you like made me feel so welcoming like from that conversation. And then I remember when I first came to Strong Girls, I was so nervous. First of all, I was very uncomfortable in my body, but like just because like I was like in this back and forth of gaining weight and stuff and not having control over what was happening over my body. I went there and there were all these people who like were being really nice and like lifting and stuff, and I knew that I had the capability of being strong, and like you definitely like affirmed it within the first few sessions, because like I remember when I started like deadlifting or like hip thrusting or any of that stuff, you were like, what the fuck, why is Natalia so strong? And I was like, I don't know.
You're like, I don't know.
I was like,
it comes natural to me.
And I was like, I remember just like immediately like falling in love with it and like being like, wow, like this is a place where I can like move my body and like challenge myself. It was the first time where I was like hearing the words, it's okay to be big, it's okay to be strong, it's okay to take up space, it's okay to like exercise for the joy of it and not for shrinking yourself and like and punishing yourself. So I was like learning, like I was like, oh my god, like I kind of knew that already from the group fitness background, but like I was teaching others that, I wasn't teaching myself that. So like I was in this space where I was like, it's okay to be my size, it's okay to be here, it's okay to move, to not harm myself. And I just like fell in love with it. Like Marina knows, like anytime there is like a social activity,
she was there.
It was for a class, it was a learn and meet activity, I was there because I fell in love with the club. I fell in love with the relationship me and Marina had. I fell in love with what it felt like to be in that environment that I had never been in an encouraging environment when it came to my body or my health in my entire life. And it had been very isolating up to that point.
Goosebumps.
Yeah, and so I was there. I was like wanting to be there all the time. I even had some like encouraged some of my friends to join, and so like that was like really big, and I was just like, no, you have to meet Marina, you have to meet these people. I was like, you don't have to hate yourself.
Do you remember your first day? I wonder if you remember an interaction that we had.
I do. Like, I remember that, like, I want to say deadlifting and squatting. So I remember, like, meeting you and then you being like, okay, like, let's just see what you can do. Like, let's see how your form is. I believe maybe it wasn't a deadlift, it was an RDL. And so you were, like, seeing, like, how I can move and you know, you gave me some cues, but then you were like, you know, you kind of have this. Like, you know, you're doing okay or whatever. And then, like, that initially, like, I think we saw that I kind of had like that issue that I had for a really long time with my squatting, because I have those long femurs, and I was like, bro, why can't I get down here? And I used a box. We did box squatting for me for a long time.
Wow.
I don't know if you remember that. Because like I just didn't know how to feel things, and then I swear for like 3 to 4 or 5 months, it was just me showing up and learning how to feel things. And like I was strong, but I was like, things were not necessarily clicking on like how to click it all together to get the best result in each lift. And then I remember like June or July, and I had started in February because I met you a little bit before your birthday, and I remember it was like June or July, and for some reason, like my squats just started like I just started getting it, and then like my bench just started progressing super quickly, and we were like, what's happening? And I was like, I don't know, but it's making sense in here.
Wait, no, but there's a specific interaction that stuck with me from the first day that we met. I was asking, you were probably already yelling. I was asking you to look in the mirror. I was like, Nat, look in the mirror so you can see your body, what it's doing, so you can have mind-body awareness. And you kind of immediately start tearing up, and you're like, I don't want to. I don't like looking at myself in the mirror. And I remember I immediately stood in front of you, stood between you and the mirror, and I was like, that's okay. Fuck that mirror, don't look. And, like, all the girls were there. We were all there together, and it was, like, a really beautiful moment. Do you remember that?
I totally remember that, and I can't believe that you just pulled that out.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
I've never forgotten that day. That day really stuck with me because, I don't know, I think it's the epitome of being a woman in our fucked up culture.
Uh-huh.
And then also the epitome of, like, we need each other. And
yeah. Oh, my God. That makes me so emotional thinking about where I am right now to that. Oh my God. Yeah, I definitely remember that. I was like, I'm afraid to look. Because I wasn't happy yet, and I didn't know how to accept myself in whatever phase I was in.
So for the first several years of your fitness journey, it was a lot about healing that. Healing your relationship to food. Healing the parts of yourself that you were taught to hate. Finding consistency, falling off, getting back on several times.
Yeah. And it was a lot of like learning how to prioritize myself because I didn't know how to prioritize myself in the chaos of life. So I was, I had a relationship that I put above myself for many years, and I was like, oh, well, when we're good, I'll be good. And then it just kind of ended up to of a cycle of us never being good eventually. And then I was always losing myself, and losing track with the goal that I had with fitness, the goal I had with healing all of my issues. And eventually, was going back and forth with fitness. I was, communicating with Marina even after she left Kennesaw, or even after I stopped Strong Girls, because I stopped Strong Girls. I moved to Cartersville. It was further away, and I was trying to, stay with fitness, but I was focused on my relationship so much that I completely lost myself. I developed serious hormone issues. Like my period was out of whack. I was gaining weight uncontrollably, and I'm sure that like some of it had to do with maybe my diet, but like my doctors were like PCOS kept being brought up and all this stuff, and I just felt completely defeated. And now looking back at it, it was the environment that affected my body so badly. The relationship, the high stress, because I could not function and I could not have energy to provide myself more. And once that relationship ended, I was like, I am in this fight for my life. I am in this fight for my health. I am going to choose myself every day, and I'm going to be the most important person in my life until I feel good about myself. And so it's just been like this 10, 15 year long journey of my life fighting for myself. And I've only been truly fighting for myself. I've been fighting for myself the last 5 years, but I've only been showing up and doing the honest to God work and choosing myself for the last a year and a half, 2 years. And like realizing that like I cannot put someone else above me. I have to choose me. And so I took everything that I had learned with Marina, and I was like, I can do this. And I purchased training program from you just so I could feel like I had you in my corner. Because I was like, I know that I trust Marina, I trust her knowledge, and Marina knows I have a lot of knowledge with fitness. I know how to exercise. I know the basics. I know the intermediate thoughts of what I need to do. So I was like, I just want Marina to make me a program so I could just have that conversation with her, I'm putting it within myself so someone else knows that I'm creating a goal for myself, and because I know eventually she's going to check in with me, whether it's on social media, and she's going to ask how my training is doing. And so that was me putting myself into a brave point of vocalizing, I have this goal. So I joined the gym again, Crunch, in January of 2024 last year, and I was like, I'm showing up for myself multiple times a week, and I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to give up, and even if I have a bad week, I'll come back the next week. I started, but a month before that, in December of 2023, when my relationship ended, I was like, I'm going to meal prep my meals. So I focused on my nutrition for a month, and then I was like, okay, I need to add the gym. So that was that thing that you taught us about habit stacking.
Yes.
That stayed with me of like, okay, you don't have to do everything at once, but if you get comfortable with one thing, it's easier to add the next thing. So I started with my nutrition in December of 2023. I was like, I can meal prep. I can cook. I know how to cook. I know how to eat well. Let me do that.
Wait, I want to interject. For anyone out there listening, I don't think I've had a single client that has had success long term that hasn't taken the habit stacking approach. Right? Because you think that it's like you're just going to 180 your life and you're going to wake up the next day and you're going to do everything. Fuck no. Every client, without fail, every person that I've spoken to that has tried to 180 their life overnight has failed miserably. You guys have to understand this if you're listening. You need to take baby steps. Oh my God, you cannot jump from kindergarten to 12th grade. Like, you can't get mad at a kindergartner for not being able to do 12th grade algebra. You know what I mean? Or like 12th grade calculus. Like, and I feel like that's the pressure that a lot of people put on themselves. So I'm really happy to hear you mentioning that, how when you took the baby steps, that's finally what worked for you this past year. Okay, keep going.
Yeah. So, because like Marina's first lesson of habit stacking was when she and herself was in college, and she said she showed up every day and walked the track in her college. And I remembered that, and I was like, okay, what can I do? So I started with nutrition, and then I joined the gym, and I actually begged a friend of mine to come with me the first time. I was like, I know I can do this. I just need one person to be there for me for the first time so I can just see the gym. I can see what's there and all that stuff, because I had gotten comfortable with the all-girls training. And then I was like, this is a public gym. There are gym bros in here. There's all these people. So then I had a friend, thank God, who came with me. And like I just like went around, touched some weights. I think I had like built some type of program for myself that I had done previously before, and then I started showing up for myself 3 to 4 times a week, and I did that for several months, and then I asked Marina to build me a program. I think in April of 2024. So it was after a few months of me showing up for myself and continuing with my nutrition. I definitely had already seen some changes in my body from that point, but I was not tracking. Oh, I probably should say that. I did not start tracking until now, until the last few weeks. So for my first year and a half, I did not track. I just showed up to the gym, and I just focused on eating mainly whole foods. But I reached out to Marina, and like there were also several times in these last 2 years where me and Marina were talking. She'd be like, Talia, like, I can be here for you. And I'd be like, I don't know if I'm ready, you know. And it was like, I think there were like 3 conversations had within these couple of years, but for this time, I wanted to prove to myself that I could create change and do something big without help in a healthy way. And so I think that was for a long time where I was proving it to myself that I could do something without harming myself for the better of myself. So I was like, I can do this. I have the knowledge. Marina is my friend. She knows that I can do this. Like, she believes in me, and I will get to her when I know I'm ready. And so it was just like a year of like building this trust within myself, building this consistency, and I was getting slowly better and better and better. My training got better even when she provided me the program because I got excited about it, so therefore I was training better. But still, I was definitely like stuck between this weight range for a long time. And I think because for the first 6 months, when I was meal prepping, I don't know that I was looking at portions that much. I was just focused on eating like good foods for myself and eating to fuel my workouts. I wasn't like worried about like, you know, being in a deficit, because I was like, I just want to feel strong. And August, and then September, I was like, I need to go a little. I felt something in me, and I was like, I needed to go to the next level. I was like, something needs to change a little bit because I'm working hard, but I'm not necessarily like feeling a lot of change other than feeling strong in the gym, which is always a good thing. But I was like, but I feel like there's a next level that I'm ready for. So I invited my friend to start lifting with me, and I was kind of training her while training myself, and having someone there that knows nothing about fitness, by the way, nothing. She was ground zero. So I was like her mentor. I had lost, I think, like 10 pounds just from working out with having her make me show up for her and show her what to do, and like increase my training intensity, and showing her like this is what you should do for your nutrition. Like kind of like being a mentor for her was like reaffirming myself and making me show up better for myself. And then
I've definitely seen that to be true for myself as well. Like, becoming a coach gave me no choice but to become a better version of myself because I needed to be able to walk the walk.
Yeah. And then, so I knew, like, I was itching around. I think you and I started talking around December, January, I believe, again. I was like, I knew that I wanted this for myself. I was like, I've proved that I can work out. I've proved that I can create change within my body. Because for the people listening, throughout the entirety of 2024, I think there was 3 or 4 times where I was showing Marina my progress pictures throughout the year. I was like, my body's changed again. My body's changed again. My body's changed again. Look at my biceps, sorry.
She would just like check in randomly and be like, hey, how are you? Look at these pictures.
Yeah, I'd be like, hey, I know this is like my naked body, but like, hey, can you... I was like, you're used to this.
Look.
I was like, look at these changes. It's been like 3 months, or it's been 6 months. Look. And like, Marina would be like, damn, like, and you're not tracking? Good for you. And I was like, yay. I'm doing things. But I knew that like, once I like kind of got over the hurdle of I have trust within myself that even if I have a week or 2 where I'm off or not hitting it as hard in the gym or not showing up, that I will always return. I had built a solid relationship of trust within myself for nutrition and through working out. And my next obstacle that I knew was eventually going to come from my eating disorder behavior history was I need to track my calories without flipping out. Because I had tried several times in the past within my recovery, within all that stuff. I had tried so many times and it never worked out. I always spiraled. I always felt like I could not handle it. And so I had told Marina, I was like, I want to hire you. Just give me a second to get my life together, because my sister had just gotten into an accident. I was trying to switch careers. All this stuff was happening at the same time. And I was like, I don't know if I can handle all this at the same time. Turns out I still ended up handling it all at the same time. But I had the conversation with her. I was like, I want to do this. Give me a second. But I I am such a habit stacker in my mentality as well, because I was like, we had the conversation, I've put it out there, she's waiting on me to get back to her. I was like, you know what I can start with is I can get a scale and start weighing myself and get comfortable with seeing my body weight and see that it is just a scientific tool. It is a number to represent where my body is right now. So I hadn't hired Marina yet, but I got a scale and I started seeing what my weight was, and I was like, okay, this is my beginning. This is just where it is right now, and this is a tool, and I'll be able to see it go down or see what happens with my body when it responds to certain things. And then I think within a month of me buying my scale, I hired Marina. I was like, Marina, I'm ready. I'm scared, but I'm ready. And I was like, I don't know. Like, I just want to, I was like, and I remember within our first call, Marina was talking about me starting with a reverse. And I was like, I don't think I need to. And I was like, I'm okay. I feel like we can see where I am, see what my maintenance is, or see what I'm currently eating, seeing if I'm losing weight from what I'm eating, if I'm already in a deficit, and just go from there. And then she was like, okay, if you trust yourself, let's start with that. And the rest is history from the last 6 weeks or 7 weeks. 7 weeks.
8? Almost 8 because we had a week 0.
Yeah, we had a week 0. My week 0 was just me tracking calories and telling her what I'm eating. But I wasn't like in a distinguished deficit. And I was starting this, by the way, all at the same time while I was dealing with family stuff and changing my job into a completely different career that has been mind-blowingly crazy. And just to prove that, like, if it matters to you that much, like, somehow you'll make it happen. That's just what I've been consistently showing myself. So that whole history of, like, what I was to get here now is kind of like, you know, was me for a long time just not being ready and not liking myself and shrinking myself. For years, battling, can I get ready? And then the tiny bit that it's been now of me being like, I am ready, I can do this, let's do it. Yeah, so I guess that would be like who I was before coaching and what led me up to coaching. And what made me want coaching is I knew I could do it myself. I mean, I have physical progress that I was losing weight over the last year, obviously, but I knew that this was a hurdle that with tracking that I wanted Marina to hold my hand and tell me it's okay when it's hard, because I know that she knows what I've been through because she's been through it, and she knows my history, and she knows that sometimes it can get overwhelming, sometimes it can get scary, and I wanted her to be able to tell me it's okay, trust yourself, even though I have a lot of knowledge and I've been doing things correctly. I wanted her mentorship. I wanted her to guide me through seeing the numbers, because the numbers is what's scary to women. Like seeing a scale, seeing the calories, tracking everything, being meticulous. It's what is the most overwhelming, and that's what I wanted emotional support with.
Yeah. So when your weight spikes, you don't act irrationally. You show me, hey, my weight spiked. I'm freaking the fuck out right now. And then I'll come in with the voice of reason, which I actually haven't really needed to do with you because you're really good at doing it for yourself. But in theory, this is how coaching would work. And I would ask, did you have dinner later than usual? Did you eat something you're not usually eating? Did you have a couple alcoholic beverages? Are you stressed the fuck out? Are you getting enough sleep? Did you accidentally eat more sodium than usual? These are all things that are going to impact your weight spiking. And so we'll see the weight spike, and our inner critic or whatever will already start creating stories around what it means when the weight spikes. I'm not good enough. I'm not doing enough. But when you take a step back and you take off your crazy goggles and you think about it reasonably, it most likely isn't fat. In fact, there's no fucking way that you gain 3 pounds overnight, 3 pounds of fat overnight. That's just not how that works.
So that was my journey before getting to this like established hiring of Marina. I had already had a relationship with her. I've been through Strong Girls, and I finally decided this year I wanted to be ready to track and prove myself that I could see my weight, I could see the calories, and not flip the fuck out. And I would say, like, having access to Marina has has instilled so much trust within myself, because I've been consuming her content for so long. I've known her for years, and I know what she teaches, and I have it in the back of my head. She's most of the time not teaching me that many things that I don't know a little bit of, but having access to her and having her to hold my hand is like,
it's everything.
It's everything. It's like a cohabitant relationship of me knowing that I need to vocalize when I'm struggling with something, or vocalize a thought. And the moment I vocalize that, I know what she's going to say in return, and I'm also reaffirming at the same time. And then she's like, correct. correct.
I think that just goes to show how support is everything. Community is everything. I say this all the time, and I'm going to say it again. You think you're getting a coach because there's a million things that I need to teach you and you don't know anything. Part of that is true, right? There's a lot for you to learn. So much so that when you started back in the day, there was a lot for me to teach you back then. Versus now you're kind of at a point where you've learned most of what you need to know to gain muscle and lose fat. You know, like everything that you learn from here on out is just what is the new science research coming out saying, and it's just like shit that you don't need. Not really. So you get to a point where, okay, I kind of already know it all. Now I just want support. Now I just want friendship. I want someone to lean on when I'm crashing out. I want someone to remind me how strong I am, how capable I am when I'm freaking out. I want someone to bounce ideas off of. And I love how you mentioned that initially I came in and I said, you need to reverse diet. And then you were able to turn around and say, actually, coach, I don't think that's what I need. And as a good coach does, not to toot my own horn, I was like, okay, I believe you. I trust you. I trust your body. And then also, if you were wrong, all we would have to do is start the reverse. You know what I mean? Like, also giving you the space to have your own journey and listen to what your body's telling you. Like, the point of a coach isn't for me to tell you what your body is telling you. It's for me to ask the right questions to help you figure out what your body is telling you. What is your intuition telling you?
Yeah, and I think that what like kind of leans into the next thing of like whatever the favorite aspects of working together. It's of like you trusting me as much as I trust you. Because
wow.
Yeah, because it's like that's not been the only moment where that's happened. Marina and I have had moments week to week where, for the people who don't know, I've been tracking in a calorie deficit for like 7 weeks now, and I haven't had to change my calories. So there's just been a couple weeks where Marina's like, we could go down if you want to but do you think that
I'm like, come on, girls.
do you think that it's your choice? And I really feel like based on the environment in my life and my body and the way I'm feeling it respond, that it's still gonna go down. And so like as much as she's needed me to trust her, I've needed her to trust me. In comparison to me trusting my body and learning from my body and how she responds to what I'm doing to her. And
Isn't it crazy how much you're learning about your body in your first fat loss phase?
Yes, because what I've noticed is that like my weight slowly goes down, and then it will be like the weight drops around the 2 to 3 weeks that is around my luteal and period. It will be the slower drops, and then after my period ends, look, it just dropped like way lower than like it. I was like, oh, okay, that was an interesting low that I just experienced. And
I think that a lot of people are afraid of the numbers, but now look at Nat. She thought that she would never be able to use the numbers safely. I'm talking about like weighing yourself and counting your calories, and I thought this as well. But when you're able to take a more scientific approach instead of an emotional approach, my body is my experiment, you realize that it doesn't make any sense, bro, to change the protocol off of one data point. That is just not enough proof that it's time to change the protocol. So when you have the numbers, it starts getting exciting because you start being able to predict what your body is going to do. Coming from a past, Nat and I, a history of feeling like out of control out of our bodies, feeling like I'm just never going to be someone who's going to be able to lose weight. Like maybe this is something that's not possible for me, to now being on the other side of it. I know exactly what lever to pull to make my body do exactly what I want it to do. How crazy is that? Because you think that the opposite of disordered eating is not caring about your body, not losing any weight ever. Like you think the opposite of disordered eating is, never tracking anything. No, I think the opposite of disordered eating is then turning around and conquering those feelings that were around the behaviors and now being able to engage in those same behaviors, but because the intention is different, because you know when to pull back, because you know how to listen to yourself.
Mm-hmm. And so, like, the last, 7 weeks or whatever, it's been so cool to see, like, the times where, like, I've had a drop of, like, I can think back and be like, I had better sleep that night, or whatever, like, maybe my water was better, or what, stress was lower, or my nutrition was more on point, or whatever. And literally, it's just been, like, me, like, literally learning and talking to my body and being like, okay, girl, what are we doing here? What affected you? And all this stuff. And I've just been, like, literally learning over this last 7 weeks that my body's my friend. Like, she's my friend.
She's your partner.
She's, like, my friend. I'm like,
she knows. She knows. She's so much smarter than we could ever be.
Yeah.
So when she's speaking, we know how to listen now. When she says, I don't need to drop my calories, I think I would get a little bit too hungry, I'm going to wait here a little bit, and you listened, you just, like, learned how to listen to her better. You know what I mean?
I'm literally listening to her every day, and I'm like, because it's so crazy, because I'm realizing that, like, as much as I need her to trust me to show up, to, like, do my food and my tracking and my calories and my exercise, in return, based off that, she's like, you trust me, and what's meant to happen is gonna happen. And so, like, that's literally what I've been seeing over the last several weeks, is that, like, when I do things based off of this trusting relationship with my body, she's naturally following. And
she knows, bro. And she, like, knows when it's time to rest. Every time you text me and you're like, hey girl, I'm not gonna go to the gym today, and that's okay, I'm like,
because
thanks for the comms.
I'm generally, like, listening and being like, I think that it would be hurtful to myself to push myself past my exertion points, because Marina knows I am working a really crazy job right now. I have to travel for work. I'm dealing with emotional things in my life. And so I am balancing a lot right now. And so the moments when I tell her, I don't know if I'm going to go to the gym today, or I may need a tracking break, which I, by the way, have tracking breaks on the weekend pretty much, I'm listening to her. And half the times, the days where I'm, like, resting more, I have a new low the next day.
This goes against everything that we've been taught as women, what it means to be woman and lose weight. That you're not good enough, you're not doing enough, you need to be exercising harder, you need to be eating less. And the opposite has been true this entire time. So when we tell people, hey, the reason why you can't lose weight is probably because you're over-exercising and under-eating, and that's burning you out, so you can't actually ever be consistent with it long-term. This is what we mean. Because Nat was like, you know what? Fuck all the noise. I'm going to take a slow, steady approach rooted in self-love. I'm going to rest when I need to. I'm going to rest a lot. I'm going to take tracking breaks when I need to. I'm going to have a lobster roll in Maine when I want, because I need to experience that. I'm going to make lots of room for life sprinkled in between, and I'm going to understand that this is going to be a much longer process than I would like it to be, but it's going to be one that's actually, I'm going to lose the weight and keep it off road this time. This is what we mean.
And doing it the slow way, like, first of all, I can't even wrap my head around, like, believing things when I was younger, being like, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, blah, 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 because, like, doing it the slow way, like, I feel so much joy, and I feel so much more fulfilled, and I literally feel like it's just made the process so wholesome, and I feel like I'm
joyful,
and, like, I've meant to be living the way I'm supposed to be living, like, through enjoying the exercise, through enjoying, oh my god, I'm about to have this most beautiful meal in front of me that I know what's in it, and I know how it's serving me, and all this stuff. And So it's just been so interesting to like learn that like first Marina's needed to trust me as much as I trust her. My body's needed to trust me as much as I trust her. It's just like these trusting relationships that are building so much fulfillment within the journey that I never thought I would ever experience, because I thought it was just going to be always stressful,
hard the whole time,
always hard and always chaotic. And really, like, what I love about taking it slow, which I told Marina I had a very slow journey leading up to her, and I told her I wanted it to continue to be slow because I had the time. There is no rush. Who am I competing with? It's just me. Whatever. I've already been in a larger body than I am. There's no reason to like shame myself into a faster process. I want to be happy within my life and within myself, so let's go slow. And she was like, okay, period. And it's just been so fulfilling. And I'm not really sure where I was going with that.
I'll say something.
Go ahead.
Believe it or not, that when you give yourself permission to take it slow, the process speeds up. Not because you're trying to speed it up, but because everything is in alignment and everything is flowing. Isn't that crazy? When you relinquish your control, you stop getting in your own way. Manifestation, in my opinion, is just what you perceive, how you perceive the world. Subconsciously, you are acting out of how you are perceiving the world. So, for example, someone who doesn't truly believe that they're capable of fat loss will subconsciously engage in behaviors that affirm that belief. So what are you going to do? You're going to over-exercise. You're going to under-eat. It's not going to be sustainable. It's going to reaffirm what you already believe about yourself, that you're incapable. Versus when you truly believe, when you do the mindset work, heal the mind and the body will follow, you truly believe like Nat. She's like, no, I know I can do this. And you accept that it's going to take a little bit longer, but you know what I mean? And you trust yourself. You start acting in alignment with that, and you start engaging in behaviors that affirm that. So what did you start doing? Resting plenty, trusting not having emotional reactions to the scale, trusting what your body is telling you, and these are all things that are working towards your goal. Suddenly, we're 7 weeks into our coaching relationship together, and you're 7 pounds down, and you're eating 1,900 calories. And you're eating
sometimes
lobster rolls.
Sometimes 2,000, yeah.
Y'all, and she's traveling multiple times per month. She is working out in apartment gyms, hotel gyms. She's working out with bands in her room. And these are all things that one might look at it and be like, wow, Nat's not doing a good job, right? To the untrained eye, she's not doing it perfectly. She's messing up a lot. But like, no. You're messing up because it's giving you the flexibility that's allowing you to be consistent. And in the game of life, consistency and time in the game is going to take you further than anyone else. Everyone quits before it starts getting good.
Mm-hmm. And if we're talking about science, first of all, your body, I mean, theoretically, your body is not distinguishing like one exercise over the other. Exercise is just exercise, and yes, like progressive overload is how your muscle grows, but when you're exercising in terms of calories in, calories out, movement is better than nothing. So when I'm showing up for myself and I'm doing movement in my room with bands because I have no access to weights, that's me showing up for myself. That's me exerting, and that's my body being like, okay, she did her exercise today. And like, whoop. And
your body isn't being like, wow, she used bands today instead of weights. No, your body is perceiving the exertion that you're applying to it, the tension that you're applying to the muscle. That's it.
Yeah. And it's just like, it's just going around the circle of like us putting value and worth over a specific belief. So like the belief that like, oh, I have to look a certain way to be healthy, or I have to look a certain way to be good enough, or I have to exercise a certain way to be good enough. Like, I'm never going to be a Pilates princess. No, that's not going to be me. But those people are still exercising, and they have that relationship with their body that their body knows that that's their exercise. That's not my exercise, but
And it works for them.
Exactly.
Now,
And
what I don't like to see is someone try to put Pilates above strength training under the pretense of strength training makes you bulky, Pilates makes you long and lean. Bitch, shut the fuck up. Sorry I got salty there, but Pilates is a great form of exercise. Strength training is a great form of exercise. But you should not be trying to market Pilates to women so that they're not fat because they need to be long and fuck you. Market Pilates to women because it's a great core builder. It's a great
it's
yin
good for
to the
stability.
yang. That is strength training. Yeah, like
Yeah.
what are you talking about? Oh my god, another great style of movement, another art that you can learn. Anyways, oh, you know something that I was thinking about? Here's the thing. Just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. Just because you can lose 20 pounds in a month doesn't mean you should. Just because you can, if you wanted to, finish a 4-year degree in 2 years or 3 years doesn't mean you should. Especially if it's at the expense of your mental and physical health. That was something that I wanted to add to our conversation about. You're like, wow, I can take my time and actually enjoy the process and not want to kill myself.
No, because it allows me room for it. The thing is, if my job were to be a fitness influencer, if my job were to be a trainer, like I would have time to work out 5 to 6 times a week, and make that my life. But that's just not the reality for me right now, and that's not the reality for a lot of people. And like Marina,
dude, some of the best bodybuilders are not online coaches. Some of the best bodybuilders in the world right now have office jobs. They have full-time jobs. Yeah. They meal prep their meals. They take their meals with them to work. A lot of some of the best women's physique, like wellness and bikini bodybuilders in the world are full-time moms. They have like 2 to 3 kids and a job and a husband.
And it's just like, but those people also know that like showing up is different every time because of their lives. And it's just so interesting because like even Marina, she has clients that only work out 2 times a week or whatever, and they see progress. And like theoretically, like my program is 4 days a week, and a lot of the time I am doing that, and some of the time I'm not. I'm only showing up 2 or 3 times a week, and guess what? My weight is still dropping. So
period.
She
imperfect action.
Yeah, Marina likes to say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
She'll be like, hey Marina, I did this and this and this wrong this week, but my weight is down a pound, and I'll go do it again. Do the same, make the same mistakes again, because if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And those mistakes are allowing you the flexibility that you need to not hate calorie counting, to love life. That was amazing. I didn't even need to ask you any questions because it was just flowing. I kind of want to wrap it up. Do you have any other things that were on your mind?
No, I mean, I just know that like tracking and like specifically within this conversation is unique because Marina and I have that same history of disordered behaviors. So it's like it's a lot more detail oriented about like the before and how my mindset during. So this conversation is a little bit more unique to highlight that. But anyone who's like us, like it's okay if you're in that journey for so long, and it is okay to be scared, but there are people who know what you've been through and that can help you and that can hold your hand. And that was like a thing that was very obvious to me through my relationship with Marina and through learning from her and being friends with her. I was like, this is a person I can trust, and she is never gonna make me feel bad whether I'm doing things perfectly or doing things imperfectly. She's like, you're here and you're showing up, and the fact that you're voicing it is enough. And like that has been so wonderful because it's just like it is so inhumane to expect perfection all the time. And I think the most healing part about recovery and through overcoming the obstacles that I never thought that I was going to be able to overcome is that like perfection, it was like the sole focus of like disordered behavior. We're chasing perfection with our body, with like over exercising and under eating, like trying to like be meticulously harming ourselves to reach this perfect end goal that never actually happens because you're not happy. And peeling back the layers, getting help, getting towards a mentor shows you that like actually the best things that you achieve through life are achieved through imperfection and just showing up and small baby steps and
enjoying the process. Oh my God, we don't have to white knuckle our way through everything. Suffering is, you don't get a medal for suffering more than everyone else. Get the fuck out of here. I literally, the only thing that I would add is for the people out there listening who might be on the fence or might have reservations about coaching, what would you say to them if we haven't already said it all?
I would just say that like coaching is a catered experience. It is catered to what you need, not what based off of only what she can provide. Like what she's going to listen to you, trust you, and hear you. She's going to hear your words, and she's going to give you an example of maybe what she thinks you might need, and you're going to go back and forth until you realize this is what's working. And it's completely catered to your life. You don't have to have a perfect life. You don't have to work out all these times a week. You can just show up a couple times a week and she meets you where you're able to realistically go without, overextending yourself. And you can always see progress in that way. And you'll always see it. And the most progress is mental and emotional. And the physical comes with that. And
with it.
Yeah, and I think
it's a happy bonus.
The craziest changes I've seen have just been from taking the stress and pressure off of everything. Because your body feels pressure, your body feels stress, and most of the time it doesn't work well under stress outside of progressive overload. But
there's a difference between eustress, good stress, and chronic stress.
Yeah, and so when you take the pressure off of I need to look this way or I need to achieve this thing, and you just be like, I'm gonna flow, I'm gonna do this, my body's gonna respond, we're gonna trust each other. It just happens, bro.
It just happens,
naturally.
Bro. Trust the work. There's no need to be freaking out. Oh my God, is it gonna work? You don't trust the work then. If you trust the work, do the work, and it'll do its thing. And it'll happen when it needs to happen, how it's supposed to happen. Crap, I was gonna say something because you inspired me to say something. If at any point you're asking, like you are engaging in a habit and you're asking yourself, how am I going to be able to do this for the rest of my life? You're doing it wrong. Whatever you're doing is not working for you. That is not meant for you. So if you're looking at coaching as, I'm not ready yet because my life isn't in order yet, or I don't think I'm ready to put that much effort into it, you're thinking about it wrong. Because if you're doing fitness correctly, if you're pursuing health and wellness and strength training correctly, it should feel like what Nat is describing. It should flow. It should feel like something you are choosing. You should wake up on Sundays excited to turn in your check-in. Because you're so excited to, to see where we're going from here. What are we changing? What's happening? Like if it feels stressful, I don't think it's working. Like something is wrong there. And that's how I feel about that. That's my optimistic view of life. It should feel good.
Every body and every mindset is a unique thing. Therefore, every fitness experience and every health experience is a unique thing, because my body isn't going to react to things the way Marina's body reacts. And so, like, what's the best thing about hiring a coach is figuring that out, is that it separates the shit that's online that's like, do this exactly this way because I look this way, and buy it and you're gonna look this way. That's wrong. A real coach is going to cater to your life, and you're gonna figure out over time what works for your life and see real progress that can continue over long term.
And that is what confidence comes from. is from doing the things that you say that you're going to do and getting the results that you thought you were going to get from doing the things that you said you were going to do. Nat, nobody can tell you shit now because you have undeniable proof that you are who you say you are and that you're going where you say you're going. You know what to do, bro. You know that at any moment you're going to finish this fat loss phase, you're going to do your reverse, you're going to do it. You just know, like, you have proof that it works. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of people are like, okay, maybe they lose the weight, but they don't know how to keep it off. Now you know how to lose it, you know how to keep it off, you know how to rest, you know how to refuel. What are you talking about? Isn't that cool?
It's so funny. Like, I think I was talking about this with Marina and the other girls in the group chat because I was like, oh my god, it only took 15 years to realize that an eating disorder is so stupid. I'm like, wow, I can't believe I was a victim. I mean, obviously it's such a bad mental illness, but it's like, wow, like being on the other side, you're like, man, this is such an easier way to navigate life.
You know, it's crazy. Even social media even puts pressure about how you should heal and how long it should take you to heal. So, because a lot of the bodybuilders that we love, right, a lot of them have a similar story to us, a history of disordered eating. But if you have a lot of followers, it's because you have something amazing to share. You probably already have an amazing physique. You know what I mean? So we'll even compare, it's like, yeah, like a lot of the fitness influencers, they've had more quick transformations, if you will. Like some of my favorite fitness influencers have been lifting for the same amount of time as I have, but they've been able to accomplish more, quote unquote. At least like their exterior symbol of their success. So yeah, there's that too. I think most fitness journeys look a lot more like this. I think that's okay. But it's not sexy. People don't want to hear that.
No. It's life. It's a lifestyle thing. It's like just like other aspects of life, of like motherhood or like relationships. It is not cute all the time. Like, you have to put in work. It's hard. There's going to be highs and lows, but if you just stick with it, you end up with a good goal. You end up with a healthy marriage. You end up with a great mother-daughter relationship. Like if you just do the work and you show up. And it's just like, that's the same relationship, is that you're building a relationship with your body and with your own life's sake of health.
Yeah. Well, what is a healthy relationship to food? Only you can define that. What is a healthy relationship with my partner? Only you can define that, bro. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Something as simple as the body positivity movement, they really speak against calorie counting. And that wasn't aligning for me. I wanted to believe that was my truth, but I was like, I think there's something more here. I don't think that's what a healthy relationship to food means to me. And so permission to explore different things and trust yourself, and permission to make the wrong decision. I think we also have this like idea that every decision we make is like final. So like, you don't get coaching because you're afraid to make the wrong decision. You probably will. I've gotten a bad coach before. You know what I mean? Like, I've purchased a course that was useless before. That was thousands of dollars, and it was useless to me. Like, I started my first bachelor's degree that I tried for. I started failing out my junior year because I did not want to be a fucking ecologist and marine biologist anymore. Like, you're supposed to fail. Ugh, so annoying. I went off tangent there, but great conversation.
Great conversation, as always.
I never know how to close these out, so thank you not so much.
Thank you, Marina. Everyone, trust her. Okay. All right, bye.